Hidden under the cobbled streets of a Croatian coastal town, under the shadow of a modern parking lot project, lay a forgotten grave, a tomb for two. Nearly 2,000 years ago, in the Roman city of Trogir, now known as Trogir, someone laid to rest two newborns in a delicate, solemn embrace. A brother, a sister, fraternal twins facing one another, entombed together for eternity. Their story might have ended in silence, lost to centuries of dust, empire, and erosion. But in April 2025, their fragile bones spoke again, not in words, but in science. Published in the Journal of Archaeological Science. Reports this haunting discovery was led by bioarchaeologist Dr. Anna Osterholtz of Mississippi State University. The site, known as Dragulin Cemetery, was unearthed in 2016 during routine excavation work for a parking lot. What began as a simple municipal development project quickly transformed into a window into antiquity, revealing ancient stone urns, Roman burial vessels, and then, unexpectedly, something far more intimate, a double burial. Such burials are rare in Roman-era Croatia, and rarer still is the burial of two infants together, side by side, or in this case, face to face. This was no mass grave, no hurried interment in the wake of plague or war. The twins had been laid carefully, symmetrically, their bodies arranged with intention, tenderness, a symbolic mirror of their brief, mirrored lives. It was as if whoever buried them wanted to preserve the bond they never got to grow into. Using advanced ancient DNA analysis, a technique that can extract genomic data from severely degraded remains, the research team confirmed the two infants were indeed fraternal twins, one male and one female. They had likely died together, either stillborn or within 2 months of birth. That makes this the first genetically confirmed case of Roman-period fraternal twins in Croatia, and one of only a handful of such discoveries across the entire Roman Empire. Their burial posture and the care involved in their arrangement suggest they mattered deeply to their family. In a time when infant mortality was heartbreakingly common, this level of ritual and spatial planning indicates a profound personal loss. Perhaps they were the first children of their parents, or the last hope of a lineage, or a miracle birth, a rarity marked by both celebration and sorrow. But what took them so soon? To answer that question, the scientists turned to their bones. Despite their age and fragility, the twins' skeletal remains preserved telling clues. Both showed signs of chronic metabolic disease, conditions often linked to malnutrition or the body's inability to absorb or use key nutrients. In the ancient world, these conditions might point to scurvy caused by vitamin C deficiency, rickets linked to vitamin D deficiency, or anemia from iron shortage. Each one a painful and progressive ailment affecting growth, strength, and immunity. But there was another, more insidious possibility: lead poisoning. In the Roman Empire, lead was woven into nearly every layer of daily life. It lined the aqueducts and pipes that brought water to homes. It coated cooking pots and bowls. It sweetened wines and preserved fruit in amphorae. The Romans even used lead acetate, known as sapa, as a culinary syrup, reducing grape must into a thick, toxic delicacy. They had no idea of the poison they were infusing into their society. Bones exposed to lead become porous, deformed, brittle. New bone forms in chaotic patches, the body's desperate attempt to repair itself. These are known as periosteal reactions. The twins' bones bore precisely these signs, and their abnormal porosity hinted at long-term biochemical distress. While the researchers didn't test the remains directly for lead levels, due to limitations in preservation and testing protocols, the pattern matched that of other Roman children buried in the region, whose teeth contained extremely high levels of lead. Trogir, the Roman precursor to modern Trogir, sits in the heart of the Dalmatian coast, an area once thriving with trade, metalwork, and wine production, all potential sources of lead contamination. Amy Pyle Ilola, an assistant professor of pathology at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio, and an expert on childhood disease, commented on the findings despite not being involved in the study. Lead exposure through breast milk is a known cause of elevated infant blood lead levels, she explained. If the mother had significant lead exposure, which is realistic for this time and place, the toxin could have passed directly to the twins during pregnancy or through breastfeeding. This paints a tragic picture. The mother, likely unaware, like everyone else in her world, may have absorbed lead from drinking water, utensils, cosmetics, or even medicinal compounds. That poison passed silently to her unborn children, sabotaging their development from within. Lead disrupts calcium metabolism, damages red blood cell production, impairs brain development, and weakens bones. It was a silent killer in the Roman world, a toxin the empire spread unknowingly through its very infrastructure. But as the researchers noted, lead poisoning isn't the only possibility. Metabolic diseases can arise from multiple sources. A genetic disorder might have rendered the twins vulnerable to even mild nutritional imbalances. The mother's own health, her diet, her stress levels, her exposure to disease would have directly affected them. In antiquity, complications during pregnancy and childbirth were both frequent and poorly understood. There were no supplements, no prenatal care, no sterilized tools. The miracle wasn't just surviving infancy, it was being born at all. And yet, as any scientist will tell you, certainty in ancient pathology is elusive. Metabolic disease can stem from 1,000 causes: genetic disorders, premature birth, infections, environmental factors, or even social determinants like poor maternal nutrition and unsanitary living conditions. The truth may be a tangle of all these factors. Still, this is not just a story of death. It's a story of love, mourning, and memory. In a society where infants were frequently lost and often buried anonymously or in simple mass graves, this double burial stands out. The twins were interred with care, their heads turned toward one another, not just as siblings, but as a symbolic unity. A final connection preserved in stone and soil. One last shared moment, frozen in time. This is one of the very few double burials known in Croatia, said Dr. Osterholtz, and the only one of very young individuals in this cemetery. That makes it not only rare but deeply significant, a snapshot of ancient familial grief preserved for 2 millennia beneath layers of modern infrastructure. The Dragolin Cemetery sits within the bounds of modern-day Trogir, a town now designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But in Roman times it was Trogirium, a bustling Adriatic port town, fortified, connected to the empire's trade networks, and culturally rich. After Julius Caesar's civil war in 47 BC, Illyricum, the province encompassing Trogirium, was absorbed into the Roman fold. Amid the movement of soldiers, merchants, and officials, ordinary lives played out. Families were raised, children were lost. And in this grave, those hidden histories are now visible again. This discovery tugs at something universal: the pain of losing children, the fragility of life, the blind dangers of human progress, and the timeless hope that our grief and our stories won't be forgotten. Archaeology often chases palaces and power, but here it whispers something more intimate, that behind every ancient ruin was a human heartbeat. And sometimes the smallest graves hold the deepest truths. These 2 infants never grew up. They never learned language, never took a step, but they were mourned. They were remembered. And now through science they speak. We often look to the past to learn about power, but sometimes the most enduring lessons come from love. If this story stirred something in you, if you believe that history is more than names and dates, but also tears and tenderness, subscribe. There are more stories like this, waiting in the dust, waiting to be heard.